Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. With me today is Scott Nokes, English professor here at Troy University. Scott, thanks for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me.
And we're here talking about the business side of the English industry, publishing. Very important aspect if you're going to be a writer, you want to get published. But you have introduced students to an opportunity to not only learn about publishing, but to publish themselves, because there's written a textbook about digital publishing. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so last year, we decided in the fall of last year, we decided, well, let's really focus a little bit in one class on digital publishing, writing and editing and publishing, because most of what we do in the English department applies whether you're writing something by hand, whether you're reading it off a printing press, or you're reading it on your phone screen. Mm-hmm. But there is that 5% of skills that you need to know that aren't about computer literacy, but more about thinking about the way that we interact with them. So we made a class that was about that, and we called the class Writing, Editing, and Publishing for Digital Media. And so immediately when I began setting up this class, to focus on this, I went out and looked to search for a textbook. And I quickly found that there was no appropriate textbook. Nobody else really had a class that was focusing on this. And so every textbook was either a very basic computer literacy textbook, which would not be appropriate for this, or had to do with kind of technical issues, which is also not what we were interested in. So what we decided was we'd have the students write their own textbook. And they did. Last week, the Student's Guide to Digital Publishing was published. It's available right now on Amazon and iBooks and Barnes, and all those digital retailers out there. So, right? And the book was written, edited, and published by our Troy University students.
So, very kind of meta concept that you take a class about digital publishing, yes, and then you end up, by the end of it all, publishing your own book. Now, I would say that's a good lesson, a lesson learned there. So.
Yes, well, and it wasn't just about the lesson, but we want our graduates, our graduates have always been really prepared. Our graduates have always done really well out of the English department, but we, so often they come out and they maybe apply to law school or grad school, or they apply to a job, and they want to be able to show immediately that they have experience. And so our students will be going on the job market already as published authors, already someone saying, hey, can you do this job? And they say, well, let me direct you to where you can buy this book where I wrote one of the chapters for it that has been published.
And talk about that process of combining the efforts of your students and how they went from being novice publishers to someone who is a published author now.
Right. So at the very beginning, of course, they knew probably only very slightly more than the average person would know about what it's like to write, edit, and publish digital media. So what we did was we created an online magazine called Trojan Digital Review. And the Trojan Digital Review, the focus of it is online publishing. And so every week, the students would pitch articles and I acted as the publisher. They would pitch article ideas, and if their pitch got accepted, and if they didn't, they failed. So they always got accepted because they knew that. If their pitch got accepted, they would write that article, and then they would have to research about it, and then another student would edit that article. And so in the process of doing that, they were researching the things they would need to know to write the chapters of the book. And so then when it came, and then over the course of the semester, I had various guest speakers come in, usually video conferencing in. We had a head writer for, I don't think I can say the name of it, a very large video game producing company come in and talk to them about writing for video games. We had a systems architect talk about the back end, the technical stuff that goes on for digital publishing. We had a senior editor for a trade publication that's all online come in and talk about how her first, when she walked in the door, the first thing was, hey, we're now started doing this, and getting sat down in front of a computer and being told to do this. And so they met with real industry pioneers. Everyone who came in, the first thing they said was, no one was doing this when we started. They met with industry pioneers, they learned from them, they produced their own magazine, and then when the semester was getting near to the end, they decided what the chapters were going to be, the different subjects, how they're going to subdivide it. Then each of them wrote a chapter, another student edited the chapter.
And was the goal a book the whole time? Did you know when you started this semester that we need a textbook for this, or did that kind of organically come through the course of the semester?
No, as soon as I realized there wasn't an existing textbook, I knew we needed to do that. So, I made a deal with a publishing company that they would be willing, within certain parameters, to publish the book. They've foregone the normal royalties, so the publisher is going to donate the normal author's royalties to the English Department Foundation Fund.
Okay.
And the goal for me was, I guess, twofold through having a book. One was, first, obviously, to teach them the basic skills and competencies, right? But the second thing was so that every student would leave that class, and when they show people what's on their resume, when they apply to grad school, one of the students, there's a chapter on law because one of the students is going to law school, this kind of thing, they can point to, here are some articles I've written for a digital magazine. Here's a chapter I've written for a book.
Awesome practical experience going out in the real world, and here's hoping that more students learn from the students who've written this book, and it becomes, I'm sure that maybe it'll catch on and it'll be a popular textbook used across the country. Scott, I want to thank you for joining me here today, and good luck with the book.
All right, thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us on today's edition of Trojan Talk.